KFI, Mr. Mo Kelly here. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and maybe, just maybe, possibly, Southern California is getting a little bit of good news, or in the rhythm of less bad news. We have more rain, which is going to be coming to the Southland next week. We had rain this past weekend. It wasn't too much, so much that we had to worry about mudslides. We got through that. Now we're going to get a little bit more rain next Tuesday and Wednesday. If my information's correct, I would ask Mark Ronner, but I don't know if I could depend on him. I don't know if I could trust him. I can't believe he left us last night. Didn't even let us know. He just walked out the studio and said, I might come back. I might not come back.
Out of nowhere.
I mean, it's like no warning.
No, somebody had a better offer. It was, would you like to sit in a chair for a couple hours and have us drill into your teeth?
Drill, baby, drill.
And as a bonus, we'll play scenes from Marathon Man and Little Shop of Horrors while you're doing it.
I have to ask you, first, good evening, Mark Ronner.
Mo!
How long was the procedure yesterday?
A good 2 hours. It was just like Theodoric of York, medieval dentist, just went at it in my mouth. It was awful.
I don't know if there is a worse feeling. Maybe Tuala could correct me because he's had some horror stories himself, but I don't know if there's a worse feeling than feeling the drill on your jawbone and then it punching through as it goes through the bone. You smell the combustion of the drill, you know, and sometimes you might even see some smoke. I don't know if there's anything worse than that.
No, there probably isn't. And I like how you try to even freak me out after I'm finished with it, knowing that I have to go back.
Trauma.
But here's the great irony of life, which is that if you're afraid of the dentist and you put it off, that makes it even worse because when you finally do go, you're really going to get it even harder.
When you get older, you kind of understand that there is no avoiding it. There is no avoiding it. It's like, you can pay me now, you can pay me later, but that bill is going to come due, and it accrues interest over the years.
Well, the thing is, I've been avoiding anything that I thought was less than safe because of COVID. I mean, 1,000 Americans died just last week of it, so it's not even close to being over. But you put off dental work for 5 years, there's going to be repercussions.
I put off dental work during the initial run of COVID, during the pandemic portion where we were all at home for an extended period of time. And I'm not talking about I didn't brush my teeth. I'm saying that there has to be a higher level of oral hygiene that you must do that you can't necessarily do by yourself, that the scraping and the super deep flossing and all the stuff in the gums, you can't do at home.
I'm glad to be back out of that chair and in this chair. This chair, it makes me appreciate it even more. Because not only that, the stuff they put on TV, when we were kids, they would have like kids posters on the ceiling. Now they have the TV on the ceiling turned to just like the most annoying channels possible. And you're already kind of pissed that you're there and the drilling and all that kind of stuff. You think the worst humanly possible thoughts about these yuppies who are flipping houses and stuff.
You can actually see the TV in my dentist's office, Dr. Mellor, who's been on the show a couple times. There's a TV, but because you have the dental assistant and usually the dentist or someone else working on you, they're in your face. We have these protective glasses on. Yeah. You really can't see anything. I have this little game I play with myself. I know that I'm going to be there probably anywhere from an hour to 2 hours if it's not a normal checkup teeth cleaning. This is what I do. I try to hypnotize myself to go somewhere else. I try to take my mind somewhere else. And this is a true story. Every time I'm in the dentist chair, I start doing 99 bottles of beer on the wall in my head, but I start at 199. And my feeling is by the time I get done with that, I will be done with the appointment. And for the most part, it works for me.
That's astonishing because I would do anything, including taking a huge Xanax before you go. And so the problem with taking a huge Xanax before you go, if you have severe dental anxiety, is that sometimes that acts like sodium pentothal and you wind up running your mouth before you leave the office.
Yeah, my dentist is not real big on knocking you out to do any type of procedure. They'll give us some sort of relaxing drug. I usually don't do that, but there's nothing that's going to calm me. They usually take my blood pressure, and they do it for all patients, not just me, but they take your blood pressure before they start any procedure.
Yeah.
And I just, it's almost like white coat syndrome. It's like, that's not going to calm me down. That's going to make me more anxious.
Well, I was sent home a couple times from my previous dentist because they took your BP before the procedure, and mine was apparently alarming. My new dentist doesn't do that, so I just pretend like I have no idea that there could be anything wrong. Let's just get this over with and get out of here.
There's a lot of psychology going to the dentist's office. And Twala, since you came in, is there anything worse than the drill busting through your jawbone?
God's sakes, Mo.
Mine was for an implant.
Oh, that was pretty harsh, because, you're awake for that. But I did have to have, at one point in time, I had to have a catheter put into my neck so I could get ports for dialysis, because before the fistula was ready, the fistula is where they would.
That's in the arm, though, right?
That's in the arm and all that, right? So before that was ready, after that surgery, I had to get dialysis using 2 ports that were in my neck. So they gave me some local anesthetic, and I'm awake while they're pushing these catheter ports, and they go into the main valve that goes to the heart and all that. So I had 2 huge ports sticking out the side of my neck, and as they're pushing those in, and you're awake for this, and you see the blood splattering onto like the little divider kind of sheet that's on your face. That was pretty gnarly.
Okay, Twala, you win. You win.
Yeah,
Twala wins by a lot. I wish you could see Stephen. Steph's like turning away. Like, no, Stephen, just because you don't look at Twala via the camera is not going to make it sound any better or less horrible. Yeah.
Who's got a better one than that?
No,
nobody.
Twala wins
by a landslide.
I mean, I guess my mouth is okay in comparison.
Like anybody here woken up in the middle of open heart surgery or something?
No, but I woke up in the middle of my colonoscopy.
Oh, fun.
That was a funny story.
True story. It's like, hey, what's going on back there?
You guys not done yet?
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And last night's plane collision right off, I'll say right off the water, over the water, the Potomac in Washington, D.C., that spoke to me pretty personally because I've flown into Reagan National, I want to say maybe 45, 50 times between going to school at Georgetown University, visiting relatives in Washington, D.C., going back for alumni events, what have you. Easy 40 to 50 times. So I know that approach, at least from a passenger standpoint. And I know how congested it's not a secret how congested that airport can be. And part of the reason why a lot of airlines have tried to put more of their flights going into Dulles, which is about 30 miles away. It's much easier to get a flight going into Dulles as opposed to Reagan National. But when you're in the city, it is very, very convenient. Like if you land at Reagan National or you're flying out from Reagan National, you're right pretty much in the heart of D.C., and it makes it easier to get around. So there's a reason where a lot of travelers, if you can, prefer to fly into Reagan National. And if you've ever been to Georgetown's campus, it's right on the Potomac. And I'm quite sure, I haven't spoken to any of the younger students, but they likely saw the crash as it happened because the campus, especially the apartments, are overlooking the Potomac. You have a clear view of everything. And if you've ever been to D.C., it's very common to see the various military exercises because you have like Annapolis, you have a bunch of bases in that Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. This is, yes, both surprising and unsurprising. Unsurprising because you have all this type of air traffic in that particular area. It's surprising, if only because we haven't had a major air disaster since I think maybe 2009. And I say this as a somewhat nervous flyer. I tell you all the time, I do not prefer to travel by air. You can give me all the stats. You can give me all the facts and figures. It's just not something I like to do. It's not something I'll ever be completely comfortable with. But I like to travel, and I like to see the world, and I like to attend events. More times than not, they're not in California, and they're not driving distance away. So I have to get my behind on a plane, and I try to just suck it up and deal with it. But there are moments like these. And also, I'm also impacted by my knowledge of airports in general. I told you many times, my sister recently retired from working at LAX, and I would get all the stories that y'all never knew about, the things that were happening on planes and even on the tarmac that most of the general public did not know about. But because of social media increasingly in recent years, and because of our desire to know more, and people are reporting more, in other words, they're running to the press to tell these things, we're hearing about these incidents more. And wrongly, people get the assumption that it's now more unsafe, or there are more incidents that we're hearing about. Yeah, there are more incidents that we're hearing about, but they're not more incidents, if that makes any sense. And some people think that because we're hearing about more, that it's less safe than before. No. There are other things that are going on, near misses, as they call them, problems on the tarmac where planes almost hit. We, as the general public, just don't hear about them. But I was thinking about what it would be like. I was last flew into Reagan National in October when I was back in D.C. for an event. And I think, Mark Ronner, you were in for me one of those nights, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I don't envy you flying. I also have a borderline flying phobia.
Yeah, I deal with it. And if it's an evening flight, I'm probably well lubricated, as in liquored up.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I have to calm myself down because I honestly don't care for it at all.
Well, and I'm not being an alarmist when I say I have read more and more lately, and this is real, that climate change is increasing air turbulence. So if you're going to have bumpier and bumpier flights as time passes.
I wish I could tell you how many pilots have told me the same thing.
Yeah, it's not a made-up thing.
The turbulence is more frequent, more severe, and it's going to continue to move in that direction. But I did come across this where just after the plane crash and the collision last night, NBC4 was asking some of the people who had just arrived in Los Angeles from Washington, D.C., Reagan National Airport, and how they didn't even know about the plane crash and the helicopter collision until they got here on the ground. And this is what they had to say.
Imagine, if you will, these are passengers who are on a plane from Reagan National, a plane without any satellite TV, so they couldn't watch any live events. We were with some of them after they had just learned what happened. The last flight of the night from Reagan National to LAX arrives, and those on board seem to be among the last to know.
As we got service at DC, here at LAX, the first thing that pops up in my news highlight is the crash.
We only heard when we landed. We got texts from family back home. Our son texted and asked if we were okay. But in the air, we didn't hear anything about it.
Here at the baggage claim, their phones fill them in.
Still processing it. I'm still processing it. Coming down the escalator, I was processing it.
Myron Fields, who lives just minutes from Reagan, processing what happened at his hometown airport just hours after his American Airlines flight took off for L.A.
I'm heartbroken for those who are affected by this. I'm also grateful to have missed such an accident.
LAX making headlines just 1 month ago. Air traffic control had to intervene when a plane carrying the Gonzaga men's basketball team neared the runway where another plane was set to take off. The result, only a near miss. Now it is here tonight at LAX, where for some vacationers, thoughts turn to home.
I live in the D.C. area and retired Army, so I feel for the three soldiers that are apparently on the Black Hawk, and hopefully we'll find out soon.
And for those who will be boarding once again, reluctant to get back in the air?
Yes.
Reluctance to fly a tad bit. However, the reality is that there's danger everywhere.
Well, I mean, I'm more concerned about driving around in LA traffic. I mean, it's, anybody that's got any sense knows that airline travel is 1,000 times safer than driving to the grocery store.
All right, hold on there. I'm not so sure I agree with that. I know the stats. Yes, people die in car accidents on a daily basis. All I'm saying is when a driver makes a mistake, and people are on their phones, they're making mistakes every single day. people don't necessarily die. When a pilot makes a mistake, everybody dies.
You don't get to have a fender bender in an aircraft.
Right. It's not the same. If there is a mechanical failure, everybody dies. Okay? If there's a mechanical failure when I'm driving home, I'm stranded on the side of the road. It's not this. If you just want to compare statistics of flights and deaths and people getting in their cars and deaths, yeah, but that doesn't make it the plane safer than driving. I do not have to worry about ending up in a ball of flames going to the grocery store, to use his analogy.
No, and I should say, in case anybody thinks I'm overreacting when I talk about having a borderline phobia, one of the very first big stories I ever went out when baby cub reporter Mark was a reporter was an airplane crash in a field in Indiana. And it was at nighttime, and I was the first person to hear it come over the radio. It was just, skeleton crew in the newsroom at the time. And it was one of those moments where everybody mobilizes, everybody gets called in, and you're sent out to the scene. And before we get sent out of the scene, while we're getting our bags and everything ready to go, we hear over the police radio. And by the way, the largest body part anybody's found in the field so far is one human hand. That will affect you the rest of your life.
I remember, I think it was a Saturday. Yeah, I think it was a Saturday. Tuala and I were working, and they had the plane crash at San Francisco Airport. I think it was Asiana Airlines. And it landed short at the runway, and then it ended up crashing on landing. And we had to cover it live pretty much as it was happening, like right after it happened. We go into this wall-to-wall coverage. And the more that you know, let me just say this, the more you know about what happens in a plane crash, the less you will try to equate it to a car crash. That's the only way I can describe it.
Oh, yeah. I've said before that it's insane that our entire transportation system is based on cars coming inches apart from each other and never, ever so much as touching. Translate that by orders of magnitude to airplanes.
The reality is that there's danger everywhere.
Well, I'm more concerned about driving around in LA traffic.
Yes, but we're pretty much driving slowly, 5 miles an hour. Yes, you might get in an accident. Yes, someone might even rear end you, but you're not I'm pretty sure of this, don't quote me, but you're not going to end up in a ball of fire or the side of the mountain. It's not quite the same, and I hate that analogy.
Well, I'm more concerned about driving around in LA traffic. It's, anybody that's got any sense knows that airline travel's 1,000 times safer than driving to the grocery store.
You know what? When I'm driving to the grocery store, I don't have to have my seat back in my tray table in my upright position. I don't have to do anything like that.
Now, here's my question for people who say things like that. How often when you're driving to the grocery store are you gripping the arms in your car like I was at the dentist yesterday? That doesn't usually happen in the car, but it happens to me every time I'm in a plane.
Yeah, it's not an irrational fear. I'm with you, Mark. And just because it doesn't happen often, it doesn't mean that it's quote unquote safer. And I know how they do the math on it. And that's one of the things. I can't tell everything that I know. But if you just equate number of incidents with actual safety, if I could tell you everything I knew about, put it this way, we're just now learning all the things that Boeing wasn't doing for its planes.
Oh, that's a whole nother ball of wax right there.
That's a part of the whole equation about flying and safety. And we're just now learning about that.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. We're dropping into FireAid. Right now, it's Dr. Dre on stage.
Make some noise for Sheila E., the legend here. Hell yeah. I want to say this is a magical moment for me. One, I want to take a little bit of time to talk to y'all for a second and show. I've got so much love for you guys, and this summer will be the mark of 40 years that I've been in this business. And I appreciate all the love that you guys have been giving me. And the reason why we're here, I appreciate all the first responders and all the firemen that put their lives on the line. I appreciate all that love. You feel me? Yeah. It's all about love for me tonight. But guess what else I got?
It's the PG-13 version. We're going to drop out of that. Yeah, we were listening briefly to FireAid, and it's not for kids. Let me just put it like that. But I will say this. These are full sets. We were wondering whether they were going to do one song or two songs or very small sets. No, these are full on stage productions. And from what I understand, when I got some calls from people who were there, that they're doing this throughout the night. This is like an all-day telethon. It's like Jerry Lewis, where you're going to be calling in, making donations. You can donate at fireaidla.org. They have a number that they've been putting up on screen. It's not up at the moment, where you can text your donations. They'll send you a link. And this is something that, from what I understand, is going to be going on all night, well into the morning. People are having seemingly a great time. Doesn't seem like there's a space in the house in at least this. I don't know which venue this is. Do you know which one this is, Stefan?
Let's see.
Because it's 740. Both venues are going at this point.
Yeah, both of them happen, but which one is Anderson .Paak performing at?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Kia Forum.
Okay, so this is the Kia Forum that we're seeing right now.
So there's going to be surprises because that was Dre.
Yeah. Oh, look. Anybody, and here's the thing, this goes back to everyone being in LA for the Grammys, and anyone who's in the music industry is probably here and probably wants some FaceTime, some stage time, because where else are you going to get that type of coverage where you're on 6 different streaming channels? YouTube, I'm watching it on my computer. Obviously all of the iHeart music stations are covering it and carrying it live. Now, this is what I want to know. If they're playing it, what are they doing with the cussing?
That's a good.
They've got a dump button just like we do, and they're probably
every
just
5 seconds.
On it,
yeah, I was going to say
dump. Now on the live stream, they're like let it fly.
Yes,
let it fly on the stream.
And YouTube, I'm guessing too.
Oh yeah, they're letting it fly.
Letting that go.
So if you were listening to this on the iHeartRadio app, and let's say you're listening via Real 92.3 or Kiss FM, you'll get the live, unadulterated, uncensored version of the show. I don't know if it's going to be the same way on the streaming. I guess it is. I don't think they would dump anything on the streaming apps.
No, but Oscar Ramirez just hit me, and he says that he's listening on the FMs, and all I can hear is just dumps. Just dump.
Oh, it's chopping up.
Yeah.
So okay. So you're right.
All right, so let's tell people what's really going on. When you have a dump button, what you are hearing right now, if you're hearing my voice, that happened 30 seconds ago. It's like a time machine. What you're hearing, yes, I know, but just blew everyone's mind. With the dump button, if I were to cuss right now, Stefan has about maybe 27 seconds to decide whether he's going to hit the dump button and cut it out. And so you listening at home or in your car, assuming you're listening terrestrial radio, you'd never hear it. But if you're listening on the iHeartRadio app, you're going to hear everything.
Yeah.
Every mother, father, sister, brother, G, darn, all that kind of stuff. If I were to say it, you'd hear it on the stream. But if you're listening at home or in your car on a terrestrial radio, you would never hear it. And it would just sound choppy, like something got chopped out of what I was saying and it skips.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting is looking at this FireAid coverage, because now they're going to
interstitials,
clips of firefighters and of the fight and just the impact of the fire. This is taking me back, and I don't know about you, Mo or Foosh, you may be too young. Ron, I'm sure you used to grow up on as well, but like the Jerry Lewis Telethon, or the United Negro College Fund with Lou Rawls, when they would be on all day. It'd be till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and just bands will come out and perform, and they'd come back and introduce you to some needy individual who needed it.
And they got the 3 levels of people on the phones talking to nobody, supposedly taking donations.
I'm waiting for them to cut to that. If you cut to the donation center where people are on the lines, I'm going to lose it because this is what I'm seeing right now. It looks beautiful. This is next level, and this is much more than what I think you and I, or what we thought it was going to be, because the information was so sparse as far as the full detail. But looking at this now, I'm like, oh no, this looks like something that was pre-produced. Like you all had this last week.
Yeah. To think that this was not thrown together, but put together in 2 weeks' time, let's say at the most, to have this quality of presentation with the backdrops and the scrims and the lights, you would never know that this was a 2-week operation.
Yeah, because even JoJo said, Tate McRae is one of the performers, and she literally rehearsed her part yesterday.
We'll continue to drop in and out over the course of the evening. We have a lot of music tonight, so just keep it right here. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Hey, Stephen, you recognize that music?
It sounds familiar, but I can't figure it out.
Mark Ronard, does that theme ring a bell for you?
It's got to be some hair band from the 80s.
No. And when I tell you whose it is, you definitely will know it's not a hair band.
Okay.
Dr. Phil's TV thing.
It's the exact opposite of hair. Okay.
Yes, Dr. Phil is doing the TV thing all again, but he's been a little bit more political lately. To that end, he's marrying his increased political, I'll say, visibility with his next TV show. Dr. Phil, also known as Phil McGraw, he joined the border czar, Tom Homan, and a team of ICE agents this past week as they took various illegal immigrants into custody in Chicago. Now, Dr. Phil, a la cops. That's the theme here. He is going around with his camera, filming, taping these raids, and also interviewing the people as they're being raided. I'm not so sure how I feel about that. It seems exploitative. Maybe that's just me.
Does it seem that way?
Seems is in quotation marks because it is. It exactly is. You know that McGraw, he spoke at a Trump campaign event back in October. He shared on X that ICE aimed to pick 270 quote unquote high value targets. And Phil McGraw, Dr. Phil, has made it his television endeavor to be part of this and document all of it. And I guess it's going to be packaged into a new TV show full of interviews. I don't know if it's going to be more like Jerry Springer, Cops, or is it going to be something like Oprah Winfrey, where he sits down and talks to various people who've been arrested, detained, to be deported. I don't know. But this is going to be Dr. Phil's return to TV. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Or not. And we know this is part of ICE, their larger operation to crack down on immigration, which is no secret to anyone. But there's something different, and I don't know if I could put my finger on it. I'm being very serious now. Is it like Cops, or is it not like Cops? Is it like Cops in the sense of we get to see something that we haven't seen before and get to see what it's like for law enforcement on a daily basis? And I know the people who are arrested or detained in the show Cops, they sign a waiver if their face is going to be shown during the show. They don't sign a waiver, and then they blur out their faces. Is it going to be like that, or is it going to be like something else? I don't know. I just know that I don't know if this is the right show at the right time to convey the right message that people are going to be comfortable with. I don't know. All I know is it's coming to TV, and Dr. Phil is going to be the host, and it's going to be across LA, Chicago, Newark, and Miami as far as these ICE raids that he is going to be covering. In fact, I've seen various reports on social media that people have recognized him during the raids because he's there with a complete crew covering the ICE raids.
And what kind of penetrating, insightful decent questions is Dr. Phil asking these people as they're being herded out of their homes?
That's not what he's known for.
No?
No. That's not his thing. No.
Oh, I must have missed something.
No. That's not his style. No. Mm-mm. He's not there for the hard hitting questions. He's not there for the investigative pieces. He's there to just ask questions with no particular direction or merit.
Surely he must be there to make things better for everybody. He wouldn't just be taking advantage of the situation for no good reason.
No, he's there to take care. He's there to take advantage of the situation and make money for himself.
Well, isn't that disappointing?
No. It doesn't disappoint me at all because he's not known for much more than that.
So you're sitting there trying to tell me that he's not there to illuminate an important situation for the public.
Not at all. He is taking full advantage of it and exploiting it.
Well, what's left to believe in, huh?
No, I believe I believe exactly that's why he's there and that's what he's going to do. And he saw an opportunity and it's America and he's capitalizing on it.
But he seemed like such an intelligent, upright guy prior to this.
No, he just seemed like someone who's on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Oh yeah, we have her to thank.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Whether you love us, hate us, or haven't made up your mind, we're glad you're here.
KFI
and KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.